Hello and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Tom and my nickname on Cables and on Discord is Pandor, and I want to talk about the CompArray ops or about the data compose operator. So compose array is one of them, CompObject is another one, and those operators we can use to create data structures or to compose data structures. So let's do this. I will create the CompArray operator. So this operator outputs an array. Let's just visualize this using the thisArray table, so we can always see the content of this array that we are producing. And I will connect this operator to the main loop, so it's running all the time. So the CompArray op, so it outputs an array which is empty right now, and we can connect other operators down here. So for example, when I search for CompArray, you see there's a lot of operators here. So for example, there is a CompArray push number. So I added this, and now when I change the number value here, we see we have this number in this array. And when I add another one of those, you see we have two numbers in this array right now. So I can add way more numbers and we will all see them there. So how does it work? So the CompArray, maybe you saw the CompImage, the image compose operators, they work the same way, right? So the main loop starts here and it triggers the CompArray. So the CompArray basically creates a new empty array, and then it will trigger those operators below it. And those operators below it can fill up this array with numbers. And in the end, when everything is finished down here, we will return to the CompArray op and it will output those numbers here. So, sorry. When I add a third one, we have 3 values, and then the array is outputted. So to make it more clear, I will add a sequence. So after the CompArray outputted that array, we can use a point cloud from array operator, for example, and connect it to the positions array. And then we should see a point. We don't see it because our values are really big. So let's set those values to 0. And there we see it. So we see 1 point. Let's add a point material to make this look a bit nicer. So there we have our point. So instead of those 3 CompArray push number, I will create 1 CompArray push numbers, because it's just more compact and nicer to look at, and also to understand it. So I will change this to 3 numbers. So we have X, Y, Z coordinates going in here. So if I change the X, we see the point is moving on the X axis and so on. And so to have another point on the screen, I will add another CompArray push array. So if I change those values, you see we changed the coordinate of the second point. So that's already handy, but we can also automate this. So we can add a repeat operator and repeat everything that's below the repeat operator. You can see the stripes on this here are more dense than the stripes on this cable. So if I add more numbers, you see those stripes get even more dense. So we see that this is executed way more often than this is executed. So now we can see in our thisArray table, our array has already a length of 66 numbers. So this is because we repeat this 11 times. 11 times 3 times 3 is 66 numbers. So let's remove this one CompArray push number. So I pressed X to release it from the trigger. So like this. And then we see we have those numbers. Let's change them to something like this. So we see we have those numbers 11 times, because we trigger this 11 times. So we have 0, 0, 0, 1. 11 times, so it's always the same number. So I can, for example, add this operator in front of this, and then you see now we have those numbers once, and then we have 11 times those numbers from this operator. So you have a really flexible way to add numbers to the array, and you could also add a sequence op, and let's do this, and add this operator here, and then the this array table, you see like the last 3 numbers, those are the numbers coming from this operator. So you have full control. You can also put them here, and then they will be in the beginning and in the end. So, and you can do this, like you can add more complexity to your numbers however you want. You can use multiple repeats. You can add something in between or whatever. So you can really create complex data arrays with this. Okay, so let's make something beautiful out of this. So we were repeating always the same numbers, so we want to change them all the time. So we can connect the repeat output. This is the index. So in the first run, this is 0. In the second one, this is 1. In the third one, it's 3, and so on. So now we can already see this. So the first x coordinate is 0. And the second x coordinate is 1, the third is 2, and so on. It's always incrementing. So I can adjust this if I add a multiply 0.1. So you can type this like star or asterisk or multiply 0.1 and press enter, and it will create just this for you. And now we see our 11 dots are next to each other. And if I adjust this with my mouse wheel, you can see those points moving around. So to make this a bit more nicer, let's use the sign operator. So I apply a sign to this number, and then you see like the distance already changed. So if I change the multiply again, you see something funny is happening there. To get a bit more sense out of this, I will use the same number and use the cosine operator and connect this to our y coordinate. So, and then you see we suddenly have a circle, because this is how you calculate a circle basically. So I can change the multiply and fill up the circle and control the distance to each point, from each point, and just control this. And if I want to add more numbers, I can just change the number of repeats in our circle here. So I can just crank this up and the circle gets more dense. So let me add an orbit control operator so we can move our camera, because we would now also want to change the values in the z-axis of this. So I can add this repeat, or let's add this repeat to the z-coordinate, and then you see now the circle is totally big, and we can compress this by using another multiply and adjust. So when I adjust those numbers, you see we can just stretch this out. And yeah, this is really, really fun to play with. Like, you should really play with the options here. So for example, when I click the sine operator and change the frequency, you see like you have really interesting shapes coming out. So we are already in the generative department and generating nice point clouds. So you can also add a simple spline and draw a spline between those points by connecting this just to the array, and then you have like this spline here. And yeah, you can really have fun with it. Let's also animate this maybe. So we can just add to this index we get from the repeat, we can just sum a timer so that we get an animation. And now you see the dots are animated, like they are flowing over our little spline here, and looks really smooth. And yeah, so that's really cool. And you can, so what we are doing now, so because this is an animation, it has to update all the time, right? So we trigger the comp array just every frame and get a new value out of our point cloud from array. But if you have like a really big array, this can get expensive, right? So you can control whenever you want to trigger this. So for example, with the trigger once. So if I add the trigger once before the comp array, you will see it will just freeze. So we have like a frozen pre-calculated state of our array. And when I want to update this, I can reset the trigger once, and then the comp array will execute once, and you have a new state in your array, and you see the updated calculation here. So pretty cool. So this is how you can generate point clouds with the comp array operator. But you can do way more with this operator. So let's try a different example. For example, I will just delete everything and create it new. Let's make a new comp array. And maybe I want to, every time I click a button, I want to add something to the array, right? So right now, when I, let's visualize this again. So right now we only have this one entry, right? And if we want a second one, I have to copy paste this operator, but we just don't know what the length of the array that we want, right? We just want to like basically have a buffer. Like we can just push numbers to it and make the list grow and grow. So you can do this using the CompArray operator because it now has this clear button. So this is a new feature that will be in the next release. So when you watch this video, this will be already on normal cables, but right now it's only on the development version of cables because it was a really often requested feature by our users that they want to use those operators as a buffer, which makes total sense. So we added this clear button. So when I uncheck this clear button, you will see the array will grow all the time. It will just get huge. So when I click the reset button, you will see the length will start from 0. So in this case, we don't want to execute this all the time. We only want to execute this when we press the mouse button. So now let's reset this again. When I click the mouse button on the canvas, you will see we will add new points to the comp array. So, and now you can basically control stuff like I want to add the mouse coordinates every time I click a button here. So let me just change the aspect because I don't want to make this too complicated to 1 by 1 and add a point cloud from array, and again use our array, but let's first fix it. So I want to again create comp array push numbers, and I want to have 3 numbers because I want x, y, z, and I will just connect the x to the output, to the x output of the mouse, and y to the y output of the mouse. And so those mouse coordinates are in the range from -1 to 1 right now. So let's click reset again. So we have an empty array and connect this array to the point cloud from array and add a point material again. So now when I click the canvas, you will see 1 new point every time I click it. So there they are. So now when I click the mouse often, you will see more points on the screen. And yeah, basically we can draw again a spline from this, but you could also use, let's add the reset to the right mouse button. So now when I click the right mouse button, everything is gone. So for example, we have this subdivide array 3 operator. So now when I click multiple times, you will see we will add more points to it. So if I change the number of subdivs, you can see I can really make a smooth curves out of those points and basically have a little drawing drawing tool and right click to reset it. And then I can create, draw nice splines. Yeah, so this is also a really nice tool to basically dynamically create arrays of points. But you can also use other stuff. So for example, let's create another array. You can even add strings to this array, for example. So we could use the operator CompArray push string to it, and I can enter something, and again we see this string here. So I can also not clear this again and not connect this here and create a mouse up like this and reset it. And when I click the mouse, you will see a new string here. So I could also, we have an operator that gives us random words array. So this operator contains just random words here. And we can just get array get string and get one of those words and push them here. So now when I click this, it will always add birthday to our array. So for example, you could use this trigger to with trigger counter, for example. So every time I click the mouse, it will now add another word to our list. So it will add the 7th word to our list. So the next one will be milk. So there's milk. And yeah, you can use this also, for example, with a trigger random number and activate integer here. So because we don't want floating point numbers like this, we want like full numbers like this. And we want this in the range of 0 to 90 because I know like this array has the length of 96. So let's set the length of 96. So every time now I click the mouse, you see there's a full integer, full number there. And when I connect this to our array get string, and now I click it, you will see every time I click, there will be one random word. And because they are random, it can happen that like you get 2 times the same word. And there's a really nice checkbox here, no consecutive duplicates. If you check this, this will not happen. Then you will not have duplicates in your array. Okay, really nice use case. So just one more thing I want to show, and I want to show there is also not only CompArray, but there's also CompString and also CompObject. And CompObject is really handy if you, for example, talk with an API, like a REST API, and you have to send objects to them. We have the operator parsObject, which helps you create an object and send this anywhere. But with CompObject, you can again dynamically create objects. So we can, let's make another example, like with the mouse operator, and I can use CompObject push string, set string. So I can key value, for example. So when I add this, you see we added a key to this object. And so we can do exactly what we did before. So we could add a string from our random words array. I shouldn't have deleted this, but yeah. So add a trigger counter and increase this number every time we click. So now when I click, you see we have the key changes its value every time, right? And even if we not clear the object, it will always change this one key, right? Maybe we want to add more key value pairs. So we can do this. For example, we can change the key every time. So there's a neat trick. So you cannot connect the string to a number, right? But if you drag this here, then it will show you this little helper and it will show you number to string. So now it will convert this number to a string, and we want to concatenate this like this, and then we can call it key, and then we get this string key 21, for example. So now when I press the mouse again, you will see we will add more keys to our object, and we can repeat this how often we ever want. So in this way you can construct complex objects, and we can even use CompObject set array, for example, and then my array, and I don't know, random numbers array we have. So now when I click, you see we added this array to this object, and you can send this object to a REST API, or you can download it as a file, or whatever you want with it. So there's a lot of possibilities that you can do that. And this object is basically a JSON file. So you can down, what is it called? Save JSON file, for example. And when I click this, I will have a JSON file here. So it looks like this. So there are all my values and my whole array. Yeah, and this is basically the CompArray compose, the data compose operators, we call them. So there's also compose string, and this helps you to create strings, so you can append strings to strings in a dynamic way and in a triggered, controllable way. Yeah, so if you have any questions about this, come to the Discord or to the forum and post them there. And yeah, I hope this helps, and let us know what you want to create with it. Thank you very much. Bye bye.